When people think of the Attitude Era, they think of Stone Cold. They think of The Rock. You think of DX, Raw versus Nitro. You had all of this going on, but few characters that were out there really captured the chaos, the controversy, and pure fun of that era. A fan favorite and a future WWE Hall of Famer. This unbelievable career is none other than the Godfathers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is when wrestling was real. Let's get real. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to When Wrestling Was Real. I'm your host, Matt Lyda. This episode today is brought to you by Zero's Hard Seltzer. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 0 gluten, only 90 calories. Head over to drinkzeros.com. Be able to pick out your favorite flavors, find a store near you that sells these phenomenal drinks. And just remember, you got to be 21 years old. And please, 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 more than anything, drink responsibly. Drinkzeros.com. I'm drinking the orange today. All right. We're going to dive into it, guys. The Godfather, he was born 1961 in Las Vegas. His proper name, Charles Wright. I've gotten to know him, and I get to call him Bear. That's his nickname. I'm proud to be able to say that I get to call him by his nickname. He played college football, and when he decided he wanted to go into wrestling, he was trained by none other than Jimmy Jack Funk. Also his real name, Jesse Barr. You know, Bear really didn't want to be in wrestling. Wrestling wasn't what he thought he was going to, that was going to be his career. He didn't think that. He thought at first he was going to be a professional football player, but that didn't work out either. And some of his early gimmicks, I mean, I've got here, when he was in WCW, Big Daddy Dink and the Executioner. Also, when he was in Mid-South, he was the Soul Taker over in Memphis. He kind of stumbled into wrestling. And those early gimmicks just didn't connect. The fans just weren't into what the Godfather was bringing at the time. They didn't like what Charles Wright was doing. They didn't like those characters. So he goes over to WWE, WWF at the time. 1992 debut, signs with WWE. He becomes a voodoo witch doctor, Papa Shango. Scared the hell out of every little kid in the country at the time. Like, I don't care. He came out there with that white and black face paint and the hat, and he had the bones, and it was just scary. They ended up putting him up against every little kid's favorite wrestler at the time, the Ultimate Warrior. Okay, the bigger than life, big muscles, over the top, coming in, shaking the ropes, the whole deal, right? And then you got this guy that does voodoo. This guy that does voodoo is going to show up, and he's going to put a spell on this over-the-top character that every person in America loved at the time. The storytelling was very supernatural. The matches weren't technical classics by any means. This isn't Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, people. This is Papa Shango versus Ultimate Warrior against the Ultimate Warrior. We all know Ultimate Warrior wasn't the greatest worker in the ring already. So, Papa Shango did what he could do, in that situation. But it got over. It got over with the fans. Papa also had a match that probably would go down as maybe the best Papa Shango match. Papa had a match against Tito Santana. It gave Bear the opportunity to show the brass in WWE at the office that he could actually work. When you're working with Tito Santana, the man could go. I mean, he was a legend at the time. He's been in the business forever, and he knew what to do in the ring. And it gave Papa Shango an opportunity to showcase what he could actually do. Gave him an opportunity to show the WWE that he can be a superstar. He can be someone that they can build a program around. But, I mean, The character was a little over the top with the supernatural angle. I think we can all agree with that. Fans weren't ready for it, long term, and it just became an unintentionally comedic gimmick. Kind of an infamous moment was when Ultimate Warrior was vomiting black liquid because of Papa Shango. Fans liked it, but they just couldn't buy it for a long-term deal. So therefore, Papa Shango is memorable. He was just unsustainable for a long period of time. So that gimmick just wasn't built for the long haul. We can't forget Kama Mustafa. I've got the Kama action figure signed. He signed it as Kama. He was part of the Nation of Domination. Martial artist. He was a martial artist, an aggressive enforcer. But the stable, you think about the Nation of Domination, people forget, we always talk about the Four Horsemen and stuff, and we're talking about The Rock, D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, and the Godfather, Kama Mustafa. And then you also had Ron Simmons in there. That's a legit stable right there. So the Kama character was about muscle. It was about being that enforcer, the martial artist. And he was the kind of the veteran presence at the time. If you look at that group, when we think about The Rock, when we think about Mark Henry, when we think about D'Lo Brown, we think about their careers as a whole, but we don't think about them being young. We don't think about them just coming into the business. We don't think about them trying to pave their career at that point. Godfather / at that point, Kama, he was the veteran. He'd been in the business since the 80s. He'd been working. This man had been working around the world. He had been in the ring with Hall of Famers. This guy knew how to conduct himself as a professional wrestler. And it's always great to have that guy in a stable when you've got young guys like a Rock or a Mark Henry that that their careers are going to be Hall of Fame-like careers. That they are going to have title runs. They're going to be the face of the company. You need to have them with someone like Kama. You need to have with someone like a Ron Simmons. Kama versus The Undertaker. SummerSlam 1995. Taker's looking for revenge against Kama because Kama stole the urn, melted it, and he turned it into a necklace, okay? Kama felt that the urn was giving Undertaker an advantage, an unfair advantage, and he wanted to level the playing field. What's fun about this is it's a full circle moment for Charles Wright, for Mr. Bear, because this is his first ever match was actually against The Undertaker when Charles was the Soul Taker. And he faced Mark Calloway in Memphis at a Mid-South event. Now, that second pay-per-view, he faced off against Shawn Michaels. Shawn did what Shawn does, which was he bumped and he sold like crazy for Kama the whole night. Kama looked like an actual enforcer during that match. You had a brawler versus a technician in this underrated mid-90s match. And it gave an opportunity for Kama once again to show what he can do in the ring. It showed that he could be this wrestler that he needed to be. He wasn't just this big, strong, barrel-chested man that's in the ring throwing people around. He could work. When you get in a ring with a guy like Shawn Michaels, when you get in a ring with a guy like The Undertaker, you are going to be asked to do things outside of the box. You're going to have to reach deep into your toolbox, and you are going to have to find something different. You're going to have to be a professional wrestler. You've got to be able to tell a story. You got to know what you're doing in that ring. These are two of the best who have ever done it. I think they realized then, this guy can work. We just got to figure out the gimmick. We got to figure out what works for him. Well, unbeknownst to them, Charles and his wife were already working that out. All right, guys, just want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting this channel. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. All of those things help me out, and it doesn't cost you a thing. Also, go follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all under When Wrestling Was Real. Once again, thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. And now I'm going to get you back to the real reason why you're here, to the video. Thank y'all. Charles Wright was living a life that wasn't too far from being a pimp. He's working in nightclubs in Las Vegas. He's a former biker. He's running around with some individuals that he's looking over here and he's seeing some pimps. He's seeing some mob guys, and he kind of sees how these guys live, how they talk, how they interact. And then he's seeing on television, okay, the WWF has completely switched. They aren't doing these comic book-like characters. They are now doing this reality-based. These personas that are truly who these wrestlers are, maybe in real life, a little bit more of them being themselves. He rushes home, has a conversation with his wife and says, got an idea. She goes, I think it's the greatest thing ever. I'm going to become a pimp. I'm going to become the Godfather. And man, did it get over like no other during the Attitude Era in WWF at that time. The Ho Train, you cannot do that today. If any character came out with a line full of women and he was a pimp and he had them line up and looked at the wrestler across the ring and asked them, would you want to throw this match and you can go spend some good quality time with Miss Sarah Beth here, or whatever her name is, Becky or Barbara or Joanne, whatever you want to call her. That would get WWE, all those sponsors you see on the ring, all the Slim Jim, everything, be gone. Be gone. They would blow a gasket if that happened today. Of course, we all know that pimping ain't easy. And he came to the ring every night with the cigar in his mouth, holding that cane, get the funk music playing, and of course, the Ho Train, because a pimp ain't nothing without his women. It was perfect timing. WWE embraced the old saying that sex sells. The audience fully embraced it. There's no better way to be able to get the information that we all want out of The Godfather than by asking the man himself. So tune in next week when I will be sitting down with Mr. Charles Wright, aka The Godfather. We're going to discuss his career. We're going to talk about what he's been doing post-career. And also, we're going to get a few BSK stories. So tune in next week. Hit that notification bell so that way you do not miss that episode. You're going to love it. He didn't need necessarily a program with another wrestler. He didn't need someone else to help carry him or his character. He just wanted to go back to the club. He wanted to go hang out with the girls. And he was willing to, let's not even have a match. Why don't you come with me? He wanted to become friends with the man across the ring. He didn't want to have to fight him. He didn't want to have to wrestle him. He didn't want to waste his time doing that. Hey, just come back with me. We can all go have a good time together. Pretty enticing, in my opinion. Pretty smart of him as well. Instead of getting punched in the face, we can go have some fun with half a dozen ladies. He definitely didn't need the belt put on him. But, and the Godfather reached the peak of his career and captures his most significant title of his career, winning the Intercontinental Championship. It gave him an opportunity to show that even with this fun, beloved character of the Godfather, it showed the world that even someone like that can still carry a title and can still be a face of the company if done the right way. And I can never imagine that character being done the right way by anyone else outside of Charles Wright. The crowd's reaction was insane. It was massive. They loved The Godfather. He was one of their favorite characters, and he never had to actually wrestle. His in-ring capabilities were amazing, but his mic skills were second to none. I can't argue with what DX did during the Attitude Era. Cannot argue with what Rock did and how his career kind of launched from the Attitude Era. But if you really think about it, the times that you smiled the most, the times that you laughed the most, and sometimes the times where you were the most comfortable as a kid watching this in your living room floor, and the times that your mother would change the channel would be when the Godfather's music would hit. It would be when those hoes would come out, and it would be when he would start talking about them. So many times, the channel got changed because of that. We watched Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon, the establishment versus the blue-collar guy, boss versus employee. What we got with The Godfather was what we all dreamt of. We dreamt of cussing out our boss and flipping him off just like Stone Cold did. But we also dreamed about going and hanging out with a half a dozen hot women. We dreamed about being a pimp. We dreamed about hanging out with the hoes. I mean, I know I did anyway. Professional wrestling is more than the moves. Professional wrestling is emotion. It's about how you can get people to suspense reality for a moment. And for a moment, we looked at The Godfather and we thought, this guy's a real pimp. He's got the walk, he's got the look, he's got the clothes, he's got the girls. He's got it all. And then when you find out in real life that he was working at these clubs, living in Las Vegas, man, he was this far away from actually being that character. That is the closest that you'll find of someone being their actual character in real life. It's pretty dang close. We got the Ric Flairs, we got the Stone Colds. This is a pretty dang close depiction as well. And when it came down to it, he was able to balance humor without becoming a parody as well. It was a water cooler character. Did you see what The Godfather said last? Did you hear what The Godfather said last night? Did you see who he brought out to the ring? Did you see that one chick in that red dress? That was what was happening at the water coolers when they were talking on Tuesdays after Monday Night Raw. Fans still chant Ho Train decades later. Anytime they put the camera on him, if he's in the crowd, oh yeah, Ho Train. It's going to happen. It is going to happen no matter what. And of course, in 2016, his greatest moment in his professional career happened. The Godfather gets recognized as one of the greatest gimmicks and professional wrestlers of all time. The Godfather gets inducted into the 2016 WWE Hall of Fame. He acknowledges his character as Papa Shango as well. And it gave him an opportunity to celebrate his full career. Not just this one gimmick of The Godfather, but his entire career. The struggles of bad gimmicks early on, all the way to this memorable Attitude Era gimmick called The Godfather. Ladies and gentlemen, The Godfather didn't just survive wrestling's toughest eras. He thrived in them, from forgotten gimmicks to Attitude Era legend. Charles Wright proved that sometimes all it takes is one moment and the courage to reinvent yourself. And that's what he did when the Attitude Era rolled around. Charles was not willing to accept the past as what it was going to be. He didn't want to accept that all he was ever going to be was Papa Shango or Kama. He decided to reinvent himself when he saw the opportunity, and he jumped on it and he capitalized on it. And what he did was he became one of the greatest, most memorable, fun-loving characters that we've ever seen in WWE history. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to see The Godfather. Be sure to tune in next week, where I will also be sitting down with the man himself, The Godfather. And we're going to discuss his career, what he's been doing since he stepped out of the ring, and see if we can uncover some fun BSK stories as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Leave a comment down below as well of your favorite Godfather moment. And if you don't mind, suggest some other wrestlers that you'd like for me to break down. And once again, thank you, Zeros, for sponsoring. And also, Roots of Fight. Use When Wrestling Was Real at checkout to get 20% off. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Tune in next week when I get to sit down with the man himself, the Godfather.